right, so today is going to be really for building for something that you're probably going to do in the future, hopefully, if you're lucky enough. The expression to begin with the end in mind really is useful when you have a business, to be thinking about when that time comes to sell it. So we're lucky enough to get to pick inside the brain here of Gary, who that is his world. He knows the ins and outs of how to sell a business and buying a business. And we also have the famous Candy Hen from Canada. So thank you, Gary, for letting me stalk you down to do this and share your wisdom with everybody watching this on this very, very, very important topic.
Yes.
All right, so we'll get right into it. I've read some of your stuff. You might have read his articles in magazines and online. And I've read in your stuff before where you talk about the business life cycle.
Yes.
Could you explain what a business life cycle is and how the business life cycle sort of factors in when a business owner should sell?
It's absolutely. The business life cycle, every business has a certain life cycle based on the people that own it, the people that operate it, the product or service that they sell in the marketplace, and they follow a fairly typical path. The duration is the biggest variable, depending on ownership and the longevity of your product. But it begins with the idea, and people have an idea for a product or service, something that they want to do, and that morphs into the startup phase where they actually are able to start this business. They get funding from people, and then they find that their product or service is accepted in the marketplace. And the business at this stage is really starting to get some traction. And there's optimism within the organization as people are satisfied with the delivery of the product or service. And that really leads to a growth phase where the business starts to realize some of the potential that they believed going all the way back to the idea phase. And we believe that at this stage of the game, that's probably when you're going to get a first good valuation on a business. When you've kind of passed the hurdles of startup, you're accepted in the marketplace, your business is growing, and now you've got some momentum.
Is there a certain amount of years where you usually see that? Say 3 years, 5 years, 7 years?
I think it depends on the business, and in today's marketplace, with technology changing the way it does, I mean, look at some of these. Yeah, look at Snapchat. A few months ago, 4 billion wasn't enough. Now I think 8 billion is the latest offer. But the fact is, you're not going to get a whole lot of Snapchats in our world, but it does. That's like a popular restaurant is a good example. Somebody opens up a popular restaurant. Let's say maybe it's a franchise, and they just get a lot of traction, a lot of buzz in the community. The first year, 18 months, you might look at selling that business because you've got incredible momentum, and if it's a franchise, there's probably a good operating system in place, and they should be making money. That's not for everybody. I mean, it's somebody but for investors and entrepreneurs who start businesses and they start them with an idea of selling them for profit and moving on to the next one, that's not a bad idea.
That's interesting. When business owners come to you to sell, what are typically the first kind of things you have to start fixing up a little bit for them? And you see, I want to sell my business, and you take a look at any certain things that you see.
We look at the P&L. That's the first thing that we look at. We do evaluation on the business, get an idea of how their financial metrics compare to people in their industry. Are their labor costs in line? Are their product costs in line? Are they servicing customers regularly? And
all the things that most business owners fail to pay attention to because they're busy.
And over time, you can maybe not pay as much attention to some of those things as you need to. So we try to kind of spruce the business up a little bit. If you've backed off on some of your sales initiatives or product lines, you need to turn those back on. We had a customer recently who.
Wait, say that again.
Well, if we had a customer recently who has probably 30,000 items in his product catalog, and he turned off about 15% of them because it was too much work. it only represented maybe 5% of his revenues, 15% of his product lines.
But you do a multiple to that.
But that can also lead to a decrease in overall business, and you don't want to do that at a time when you're trying to sell your business. You've got to find it within yourself to, make the best of what you have, open up that full catalog of items that you sell, and make sure that somebody coming in understands that, hey, we're open for business. Everything here is being sold. There's a reason why we sell it. It's a good product. There was nothing wrong with this other than the fact that he didn't want to put the time in to that particular 15% of his product line.
Okay, and I'm just gonna guess that business owners think that their businesses are worth more than they are almost always, every time.
Quite often.
Yeah. So they a lot of times will assume they're passionate about their businesses, that the business is worth more than what the market will actually pay. What sort of things usually create that gap in the valuation when they're like, oh, is there certain things that that they might not have realized that they're doing, or how their business is set up that it's not?
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 reasons people get to that place. One of them, we call it the hope valuation. You have a number in mind and you hope your business is worth that much when it comes time to sell it. And quite often business owners in that space, they don't have valuations done on a regular basis. They're really just kind of crossing their fingers that the business is going to be worth what.
So you're saying businesses should do valuations pretty regularly, or?
I believe that you should have a valuation done every year.
Wow, that could be the takeaway right there.
There you go. You get a statement every month in the mail of what your financial investments, if you have them, are worth. You get a bank statement every month, at least if you're still on the paper system. And
I'd be willing to bet you 95% of businesses
have never had a valuation. No.
Ever.
No. And the thing is, once we do an initial valuation for a company, we can do an annual checkup on that business relatively easily. It's a matter of getting the most recent financials, dropping them in our software, and giving you an update. We can show you what's sold in the past.
Right, but not you doing your own valuation, looking at all your accounting stuff, but having somebody at an arm's length look in, who's not in your business.
And we have the database to look at, not only what's on the market for sale in your category, but what's been sold in Florida and around the country over the last 12 months.
Right, so that right there, that's the difference between, what you want to sell something on eBay in your house, you put it on eBay,
Yeah.
You can see what they've actually been sold for, and you have access to all that.
It's the difference between the do-it-yourselfer and brokerage firm and intermediary that helps.
Right, actually have all those tools available.
Yes.
How far out should a business owner begin planning for an exit in your mind?
3 to 5 years is a great horizon to be looking at that. And there are a lot of things that you can do. It's we have partners that we use, whether they're CPAs or tax specialists, a legal team that have taxation specialists, financial planners. It's good to have a team of people that are working with you on your exit plan 3 to 5 years out, so that when the time comes for you to sell your business, you have a sellable business, that you've set it up to maximize the cash that you keep at closing, and that it's as close to what you need to retire or to move on to that next phase as is possible. And the earlier that you start that process, the closer you're going to get to what that number is.
Yeah, 'cause some people, they might think, oh, I'm ready to sell my business, and then maybe they're like a year out, and then a potential buyer would say, let me see your last 3 years, and like, oh, you want to see?
Yeah.
That 3 years ago, you sure you want to go back that far? But if they had known, 5 years.
Yes, and it really comes down to, do you want to get a premium for your business, or do you want to sell it for what the market will pay for it at any given time? Maybe not a discount.
Yeah, don't say the D word. When it comes to that, say a business owner decides they're ready to sell a business, how do you say, I own a business, I'm over, I want to do something different, or I want to retire. Where do they even begin to start finding people that might be interested in that kind of business?
In selling their business? At Gateway, we do a lot of network marketing.
Explain that.
We work, we there's 3 of us here that are active on a day-to-day basis, and we try to cover as many of the Jack's Chamber events as possible. Cal is very involved with the South Council. Nancy's very involved with the Beaches Council. I'm getting involved in some of the other councils around town. And we are also involved in the St. Johns County Chamber. There's great resources for business owners, CPAs, financial planners, attorneys, folks like Jeff Davis. Yeah, people that know business owners, and everybody knows a business owner that is, wants to sell at some point in time, and some of them actually, they need to or want to sell their business right now.
Right. Okay. Can you explain the difference between selling to a strategic buyer versus a financial buyer?
A strategic buyer is probably a corporation that is looking at buying a business as either a bolt-on for an existing line, or maybe they want to open up a new revenue stream for a reason that we may not know. Maybe they are aware of industry changes coming about, and they're saying, let's get a position in that, and so that's very strategic in nature. A financial buyer is someone looking at the financial performance of the business, and that is oftentimes a fold in as well, and they want to fold that business into their own model, and their cost structure is going to change. So in that situation, they're buying customers and revenue and margin, and they're growing their market share.
Okay. And either one could offer a good offer for a business owner to sell. Is there advantages or disadvantages?
Those are great buyers for a business because they're oftentimes willing to pay a premium because they're going either if it's strategic and they want it for a specific purpose, or if it's financial, they know that they can improve margins moving forward because of maybe some shared cost structures.
Right. And
so they're great buyers. And you've got to have a business that's built to sell to them, because they'll buy distressed businesses, but most often they want to buy a business that's operating,
right,
very well.
So a takeaway there would be to, as you said, a business built to sell. So a business that's built with, in considering that a bigger company, or maybe even a competing company, or a complementary company, could see a fit for you, and you'd be thinking of those people.
Scale is really important as well, because as you grow your business and you pass that $1 million mark, and you pass the $500,000 mark in EBITDA, all of a sudden you become attractive to a smaller but more capable group of buyers, and the premium on those businesses starts to ratchet up significantly. So, when you're building a business and you're looking at professionals that can help you get there, I try to tell people, spend the money to find the right people that can help you grow your business, help you grow, whether it's the talent or opening up new revenue streams, because the exponential impact of growth at a certain level, is phenomenal as far as the amount of money that you're going to get in closing.
That's a great bit of advice there. What kinds of information should a business owner expect to have to provide to a buyer when they begin due diligence? And what business owner doesn't love going through lots of due diligence?
Absolutely.
It's fun stuff. So what kind of things should a business owner expect that a potential buyer might ask them to cough up?
Every bit of financial information that they have ever generated. So we try to do as much of that on the front end, and we tell sellers, we're going to pester you for as much information up front so that we don't have to do it along the way when we're
just say, here's everything you could ever need.
Yep. So we try to get 3 to 5 years of financial information, depending on the size of the company and the scope of their reporting capabilities. A copy of any contracts in place with customers, any vendor contracts, software, leases, all of the employee information that we can get, key employees in the company, how long they've been there, what their skill set is, do they have capacity to grow, will they stay with the business. We try to get as much information on the business so that not only can we do the proper valuation using financial metrics, but that we can build a profile of the business to present to the marketplace confidentially when we gather all of that information. Now, every single buyer that comes along has a unique set of questions. Some are very general, and we know that they're going to ask for financial information, contracts, leases, etc. But each one of them will have a unique set of questions that maybe pertain to their specific need, and that's usually a short conversation with the seller or a
Verbal
quick exchange of emails. Yeah, and we may engage them on a short phone call just to clarify some of those things.
And obviously, the bigger the company, the longer the due diligence versus smaller business, or you would think.
It could be.
What do you see typically in a due diligence? Like a month, 3 weeks?
It depends. If due diligence on a small deal, I mean, you can get that taken care of in 30 days usually. Financing may take a little bit longer than that, but we try to look at 60 days to close the business. On a bigger deal, you may be looking at 3, 4, 5 months,
Right.
depending on the amount of information that they're looking for and the access to that information.
Right. And the kind of business, how many moving parts.
Kind of business, exactly.
Right.
For small businesses, it's usually a couple months you can get a deal done.
Okay. What kinds of things have you seen kill a deal that had almost happened, but the business owners watching this might be able to prevent?
I made a deal last week because a handshake software license was not
Get it in writing.
extended
Okay.
to the buyer, and
What else can
someone
kill a deal?
believed all along that it would be done because they worked on this over the years, and at the 11th hour it killed the deal.
Okay.
Financing kills the deal. Emotions.
Loose lips sink ships, I've
Yeah, that's true.
read.
The closer you get to the closing table, the more minutia that enters the
I like
frame.
minutiae better.
Minutia like that? Yeah, the more minutia can kill the deal. My wife almost lost a deal a couple weeks ago because over $500. Several $100,000, but it got to the point where that became if this doesn't happen, then the deal is off. And she found a really creative way to get that $500 taken care of that didn't impact the buyer, the seller, or the broker.
So somebody might just be fixated on one little thing, and you have to decide you want to win the
Sure.
battle, lose the war, right? So
Yep, it's our job as brokers to overcome those obstacles that get
mediate
thrown in the way. Yeah, exactly.
it. That's good. I have that third wheel that can do that. Are there any general guidelines a business owner should use to find out how much they can get for their business?
Talk to a broker. Talk to somebody that can do evaluation on your business. Industries have traditionally do quick Google search and it'll tell you rule of thumb in your industry, and that's probably
Is it accurate? Or?
Yes, it's a guideline, but you've got to look at a specific business. What's the direction of the business? Is it growing? Is it failing? What's the quality of the assets that are coming along? With the business? Is it new equipment? Is it aged equipment? And finally, at the end of the day, it depends on what somebody's willing to pay for that business. People will pay for what you've done in a business. If you haven't done a very good job, they're not going to pay you a whole lot of money. If you've done a good job, they'll pay you, a fair price for your business.
And your advice earlier is if you've done a bad job, then start doing a good job
Exactly.
a few years before you get to that point.
And they also, so they pay for what you've done in your business. They buy what they believe they can do in the business once they own it.
Right. So there's value in the growth opportunities.
It's tremendous value. That's
Should a seller present growth opportunities to a buyer and say, "Here's some growth opportunities that we've."
So a good
determined?"
broker will have identified those growth opportunities with the seller in advance.
Okay, so business owner is working with the broker. A good broker will say, "Let's see what are some growth opportunities that we could present," and then so that's the good thing about starting before you want to sell at 8:30 the next morning. If you started earlier, meeting and getting these ideas, you can start doing these ideas.
Yeah.
And
So
you can make a little more money for the last bit too.
Yeah, so the growth opportunity is what really somebody gets excited about when they're buying a business. What's the opportunity to grow this business? And we try to bridge that gap between what a seller has done with the business to this point in time and what a buyer can do with the business in the future.
Right. And being realistic, not doing the little hockey stick project
The
a.
hockey stick only has a very short blade. It's not as long as the shaft.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing this next question. It's not even pre-typed on these cute cards. What about the business owner that it's like just them and maybe two assistants, like a dentist that's just their practice, or a lawyer that's just their office, or whatever. It's pretty much them and a couple of
It's a
things.
sellable business.
Really? Is there anything like that?
So in a professional practice like that, they have a steady clientele of customers that come to the business. It's a personal services business, so and you see this in CPA practices, you see this in medical practices, dental practices. It's a very personal service, and you've got to be, if you're buying one of those businesses, you've got to have a certain level of confidence that you're going to deliver a product service at or above the level of the individual or company that you're buying it from. And a lot of times in a personal services situation like that, there will be a holdback on retention of clients. You might do it in the form of an earnout. There are various methods that we can do that, but it's probably rare that you're going to get 100% of the money up front in a deal like that. But if it's structured properly and you and the seller and the buyer can work together on that transition, I believe that you can really increase the retention of the clients so that you get maximize your earnings, your sales price, I should say, and that the buyer has a real shot at success in buying the business.
Yeah. And depending on what they do, that there's value in the book of business, just their patients or clients that are used to them. What kind of things do you do to help them increase the amount they are able to get? We've kind of covered that in conversation already.
Yeah, I look at revenue. I really believe that most companies are leaving substantial amount of money on the table when it comes to revenue because they really don't dive into revenue and look at what are the components of my revenue stream. So for example, if you're in the restaurant business and you're looking at how do we generate more revenue, the revenue really comes from three places. It comes from the number of customers that you serve, it comes from the transaction size of those customers that you serve, and then it comes from the frequency that you're servicing them. So if you get customers, for whatever your programs are, you're able to increase the frequency, that's one factor.
So if you're listening just there's another little pearl. There's 3 ways. He just gave you 3 ways to make more money. Just
new customers, frequency, transaction size.
Yep. Do all 3. Do 10% for all 3 areas. It's a big increase in your revenue next year.
That model is not restricted to food service either.
No, of course not. It's every business. Yeah. I'm familiar with those 3, and a few years ago I was like, okay, my goal is 10% in each one, and raise our prices.
And it has an exponential factor.
Try to get our clients to use this 10% more often. So that's huge. You have any examples or stories of where you came in and helped the seller increase their valuation? How you sort of staged them for sale? Like here's where when they first call, you work with them for a few months, kind of got some things going.
So we're working with some clients right now, we know that we're on the path. We're seeing increases in what they're doing. We have one business for sale at the moment, and in the course of conversation with the seller, I've discovered an entirely new stream of revenue that the seller's been aware of for a while. Needed to get some software to be able to fully access this. But we think it doubles the revenue of the business as it stands today.
Doubles?
Doubles, and it's a unique business, and the client base for this is completely different from their business, but they use the same mechanism that
take their core competency.
Absolutely.
Apply it to a new marketplace.
Yeah. So they need some tweaks to their software, a little bit of training for the people, and the seller will go out and sell this, and he's got some great relationships. So. That was the
take your core competency, and what other marketplaces could you just shift it and reformat it and start selling?
Yes.
Another good lesson. Even if
we also recently met an individual, and he came in through the sellability score, our valuation tool, a business assessment tool that we use. But when we sat down and talked to this individual, it quickly it became very evident that there was probably a 10 to 20 times upside opportunity with this client in the market segment that they're in.
That's a good moment.
Absolutely.
Have that label there.
We've connected them with some professionals that can help them get there.
That's great.
Yep.
I love stories like that. Some people expect to get offered one big check. Some people actually do. But in your experience, what are some of the typical payout structures that you see sellers get? Like what kind of offers do they expect? Terms?
It varies. If you have a cash buyer that they come in, they want to buy the business, and they're probably going to offer a discount, offer to do that. If any kind of SBA financing, the seller's going to be asked to hold at least 10% of the sales price in a note payable over time. Mm-hmm. We've seen 20-25% on those as well. Earnouts that, depending on the type of transaction, the type of industry, you can see an earnout where a portion of the sales price is contingent on continuity of customers and revenue streams, etc. And a lot of times, as a seller will remain in the company in some capacity, maybe on a consulting agreement, what have you, to help oversee that.
Okay. Other than dollar amount for a sale, what other terms should they be thinking about in a deal? Like how long they stay after, how involved they are after, any other things that you should be?
I think there's 3 critical things that you want to look at as a seller.
Okay.
This
sounds like a good article.
And a couple of those are, you in any negotiation, you're not going to get your way in all 3, but it's, price of the business is important, the amount of cash that you receive at closing is important, and the terms of the deal are important. And as long as there's a win-win on at least 2 of those 3 for the parties, you probably got to get a good deal.
Okay.
Yep.
So, 2
2
out of 3 is you should be.
2 out of 3. You may not get the price you want, but you got the cash that you needed at closing, and you got it on good terms. Maybe you didn't get all the cash you wanted at closing, but you got the right price for your business, and the terms were good.
Right. So
maybe you didn't get the terms you wanted, but you got a good price and you got a good amount of cash, and you can live with the terms. So it's that kind of combination. And
okay.
You may or may not have to stay with the business. And I think that it's realistic, though, to think that if you can help that buyer be successful, and you've got some financial stake going, post-transaction, you want to stay in the business a little bit if you can.
Okay. As a successful entrepreneur and business owner yourself, what has been your most effective way of growing your business?
Like I said, we really get out there and get involved in the business community.
Now, you do not sit around. I know that about you.
Yeah. We network. My wife and I are out probably 2 or 3 nights every week. We're doing breakfasts and lunches, and we really believe that the reputation is important. We try to stress the fact that we believe quality is essential to to this profession, and that it's something that every seller and buyer deserves, is quality representation. That we both have finance backgrounds, so we're pretty diligent when it comes to getting all of the financial information that we need to do a proper valuation, and that what we present to the public is as near to the truth as what the seller is, that it's what the seller's represented to us, and that any buyer that's buying a business go through pretty stringent due diligence to make sure that those numbers are in fact correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything that pops out in your mind as like best lessons in business you've ever learned?
Get it in writing. Contracts are important. That I would say that those are probably the 2 most important things. I lost a deal last week, and it was really a business that was shut down, and I was representing buyers who were buying the assets of the business.
Okay.
And the landlord had expressed details of the business to me, but as it turns out, they were really just trying to get another party to the table that they could use to leverage a group they already had that they weren't telling us about. Yep.
Okay. Any other final advice for entrepreneurs who at some point will want to exit their business?
Know where you're at in the life cycle. Know what the value of your business is. Two really critical things, because we start businesses to generate income for a variety of purposes, investments, but perhaps it is our income. But there comes a time where you're going to want to sell that business. Oftentimes, people want to pass it on to their children. I would say make sure that that's what your children want to do, because if your children are better at something else,
make sure it's what they really want to do.
Yeah. Oftentimes, kids have something else that they want to do, and perhaps you can take just a smidgen of what your own business is worth and invest it against your children's dreams with the right parameters. And
instead of giving them this business that they're excited about selling, and help them get that.
Let them be successful at what they have a passion for.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if a business owner wants to start figuring out how sellable their business is, what's the first thing that they should do?
Call Gateway Business Partners. So there's a few ways they can do that, but they really should talk to someone like ourselves. We do consultations every day for business owners. We have a tool that we use, which is on our website. It's called the Sellability Score. You can also find it at sellabilityscore.com. We're an advisor for Northeast Florida.
Sellabilityscore.com.
Sellabilityscore.com. And we're an advisor for Northeast Florida for that company.
Okay.
It was started by a guy in Canada that wrote a book called Built to Sell, and
it's a great book.
8 key value drivers that make up what makes a sellable business, and we score.
Say the name of the book again.
The book is called Built to Sell.
Right, so that's a good book for somebody to be reading too.
Yes.
And then take the sellability score to find out where they stand. And probably just some of those questions will give them a few aha moments of what they need to be thinking about.
Absolutely. There's only 30 questions. It takes 13 minutes to complete it. If you complete it,
and it's free.
It's free. It generates a 25-page report that we got as soon as it comes in. We give you a call and set up a time to come and review the sellability score. And what it really does is it prompts ideas and thought starters on how to take action on each of those 8 value drivers, and it shows a score of 1 to 100 where your business scores on 1 to 100, as well as where you score versus your industry average.
Awesome.
So if you're in the restaurant business or distribution business, manufacturing business, there's an industry average for every one of those drivers, and it shows how you stack up versus your peers.
Awesome, man. There's a lot of great advice, not just about selling your business, but things to think about. But there's some little pearls just in that conversation and things to do, even if you don't plan to sell for 10 years. These things to start doing.
Yes.
Tomorrow, specific things to do. So watch this video one more time and do those things.
And create a sellable business.
Yeah, create a sellable business. Get off the couch, hit the stop thing, and go do that. So thanks, man. Awesome.
All right, thanks.
Good stuff. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right.